friends, welcome back to the Messed Up Movies Podcast, a podcast celebrating movies and filmmakers that embrace the unhinged, the insane, the outrageous, the off-kilter, and the all-around kind of messed up fun you can't take your eyes off of. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Griffey, here for a new movie Monday. I mean, this thing is brand new. Between a busy weekend of getting hammered at hockey games, watching 20 hours of SNL content, my computer exploding, we have persevered. Your host, Griff, here has persevered, saved by my friend and amour who lives across the Gorge.
Oh, yeah, it's me. It's Alex Dandino.
Oh, I thought you were holding because we're not supposed to make contact, but that's fine. Guys, so if you would be so
going
kind,
on way too long.
Yeah, this new movie Monday. MisfitParade.com. Subscribe to the newsletter there. That way you can keep up with all the production on Mr. Cream Jean's Hidey Hole. We got another segment in the bank. We're doing lots of awesome stuff there. We would love
stuff
to see you there. Subscribe to the Misfit Parade YouTube. That means the world to us. Video versions, content. We got a lot of cool new ideas for shows we're going to be rolling out. Excited. All the socials, right? That's a good place for shorts, clips. You can send your friends. Make sure you do 5-star ratings and reviews. All the good stuff. Messed Up Movies Podcast. Patreon exclusives. Our Black Mirror miniseries is in full swing. We got a lot of awesome stuff over there. All right, Alex.
Yeah.
This is the interesting new movie Monday, where because of life stuff, we didn't trek our asses out to the theater.
True.
This is like we needed an option, a Hail Mary due to changing plans. So very late on Sunday night, we were lucky enough to be blessed by the Gorge on Apple TV. Through a Hail Mary, we're meeting early this morning to get this done. Alex, would you like to introduce the film?
Of course, The Gorge, 2025 release, directed by Scott Derrickson.
There you go. He of Sinister fame, yeah.
He of Sinister fame, and then, of course, if you're not into horror movies, he of Doctor Strange fame.
There you go.
Stars Miles Teller, Anya Taylor-Joy, and, of course, the one and only Sigourney Weaver.
My girl.
It is about two elite snipers who are ordered to guard a deep gorge without knowing what lies beneath. And pray tell what that might be. The film ensnares us.
Yeah, right? Two lonely, broken people see a hut across a gorge. But literally an emotionally devoid chasm separates them.
Here's the setup. Have you ever been at a stoplight and seen an incredibly attractive person across the way on the other side? Yeah. And then you're like, I'm going to cross and talk to that person. And instead, they cross the other direction.
Let me put it this way.
Never.
I am never in public and say, there's a stranger I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to. It's more like this. If you've seen Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, if you wanted to see Ving Rhames and that hillbilly gun store owner bang, The Gorge.
This is your flick.
It's that thing where they lift up the signs and play chess across the distance. It's that bit, but for a whole movie. And let me start here. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I have one thing I didn't love about this movie, but we'll get to it. This is a great, amazing, fun ride. It dropped on Apple TV. I know a lot of people are very torn about movies that come straight to streaming and not the theater. We have to protect the theater. Let me tell you the truth.
Get with the times.
This is not a would have been much better on the big screen movie to me. This feels very much like a perfect release to a streamer movie. It's got big stars. It's got a lot of big action, but there's nothing about it that felt like I was cheated by not having a theatrical experience. I really dug what this movie's on. Miles Teller and Anya Joy Taylor are a delight.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
I see. This is the thing. I always know I'm going to mess it up, so I'm like, don't make the mistake, and then I do the thing. It's like rooted in my brain.
You can call her by her character name, Drasa.
Dude. Call her Dream Girl, dude. I don't know if that's Russian for, because my kid's like, ew, why does he have a crush on her? I was like, when you're a man, boy, you will understand. She's got it all. It's a really fun ride. I like the setup. The premise is captivating. Alex, let's start here. Love and Monsters. Why is it the peanut butter and jelly of the horror movie genre?
I mean, there's few aphrodisiacs available in the horror movie genre of higher.
Whoa, you're going full Aphrodise.
of higher potency than we might die, also by the hand of some crazy animal. So let's get down. Like,
you know what? You're not wrong, because I've always had that thought. You're like, dude, if I'm like in an apocalypse, like if World War Z is breaking out, and I'm like, these things can fucking climb walls. Like, all I'm doing is trying to nut and be as full of drugs and booze as I can by the time I get eaten.
In a Love and Monsters situation, in like the apocalypse, all of us are Jay at the end of Dogma. Let's be real. Like, we're all like,
see, that's why we're Kevin Smith guys. Jay at the end of Dogma. That's exactly like, I'm not going out stuffed, except for with drugs and booze. Maybe some carbs, but I am like putting stuff in the top and draining the bottom.
Draining my bottom.
Yeah, I'm not leaving soldiers in the barracks before I meet my makers. There's no chance. So, but I like this idea. I think this movie, somehow across this gorge, they have these beautiful little set pieces, right? And again, it's exactly the bit from Dawn of the Dead, but the actors are so charming. And it is like this, you know, it reminds me of the category on the Hub, right? Where it's like, my mom got remarried and his daughter's super hot and open for exploration. Like, sometimes the universe just delivers you, and these two lonely, hot people just are like, wait, what the? They're in their binoculars like, I can't see real good. Is that my future across the gorge? Is
that a hottie with a binocs?
Yeah, and they just... The set pieces are fantastic, right? I love the Ramones and the can you shoot this, can you shoot that. It breaks out into monsters, but they really pulled me in and made me believe that these two people had formed a genuine connection, right? Yeah. The little Christmas bit, I thought that was the thing in this movie that weirdly, most of these movies, I'm like, all right, get with the, like even Hard Eyes, right? I just saw Hard Eyes. Another phenomenal film, great cast, tons of charisma and chemistry. But I was like, can we do some more hard-eyesing? Can we kill a little more? Like, I need a little more of that, right? This movie was the opposite to me. I don't know what you think of that. I wanted more of their separation across the gorge relationship. Like, I thought that was the best thing in the movie, and I was not prepared for that.
I kind of agree. I think I had a... It's a third act problem, but that's sort of, or like,
sure. Same. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that, but yeah, I mean, I like the unconventional romance angles generally, and especially like this kind of thing where it's not about like it begins as this like star-crossed lover thing. I can get down, like I can do that, and it's a fun way to do it. It's also a good way for it not to be, I don't know if this sounds strange, but it's a good way for like two mega famous people to not be so distractingly together on screen for a long time.
It is weird. Like the scenes where they finally like come together, their chemistry is like melt the steel hot. I was like, damn. Yeah. My son was watching it with me because he didn't want to go to bed. He had the day off school. And he was just like, Riz off the charts. And I was like, yes, son.
Yes, young person.
I was like, or in the parlance of my time, bro got game. Like, he's got mad game.
Yes.
Yeah, but my son was even watching it and was just like, God damn, this guy is on it. And I was like, yeah, you can't do that the whole movie. It's like some stars burn too bright. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what made this for me. Those two sell the fuck out of this movie. And if they can't sell that relationship across that vast distance, this movie does not work. Because really, when we get to the third act, that's when the movie kind of starts hitting a lot of roadblocks to me. So I think that was the best choice they made was in casting. And the script is very charming, right? The script has an interesting problem where it just feels like chunks of a lot of other movies that we liked kind of forced together. And not in a Tarantino way, in kind of a clumsy way at times. It's like, did you like that bit in Dawn of the Dead? Do you like Annihilation, right? Do you like, whatever, King Kong guarding the gates of hell? This and that, right? It feels very kind of forced together from all these other things we like. But those two, like 20, 30, probably 30, 40 minutes in, we're like really in the heat of that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'll just sit here forever. I'll do a year in the Gorge with these people. All right, Alex, let's actually get to the titular Gorge. I actually found myself very captivated by the world building at the start of this, right? The story is we see both of these two are snipers, right? Miles Teller's having like these weird flashbacks. Anya Taylor-Joy. Did I fuck it up again?
Taylor-Joy. Anya
Damn
Taylor-Joy.
it! Almond Joy. I'm going to try to find some kind of mnemonic device. She is doing sniper assassin missions. Yeah. I love the bit with her dad who's like, give me your shame. He's not Orlok. I don't know why I put that little gravel there. Give me your shame. He's like an organ grinder guy in a cemetery, and he puts all of her bullets in a little like makeup bag. I was like, this is great. I love this. And he's like, I have cancer. She doesn't know if she'll be back in time if they take this mission, right? Miles Teller's like, no one wants me. I just do missions, blah, blah, blah. And they both end up at this gorge, right? We learn that this is a top secret cloaked base with all of the, because you're like, it feels like we should have, more people guarding this. Like, this seems like a terrible strategic system. We learn why later. But each person goes and does 1 year completely isolated in this tower atop this mysterious gorge, right? You have to do maintenance. You're the really high skilled, maintenance man is essentially what his predecessor tells him.
Yeah.
What did you make of the world building of this anomaly in the earth? We don't know where it is because they drugged them on the flight. What did you make as they unfurled the mystery of the gorge on you?
I mean, I liked it. I liked it. It's a simple premise. I think this is like a thing with
beautifully simple premise. Yep.
This is the kind of thing with these kinds of movies and how many times have we watched them too? Which is like take something incredibly basic and like set up the rules. And, when you set up like this one's a great example of like how easy it can be. It's like, cool. Watch the wall. Got it. Watch this gorge. Okay, cool. Don't talk to the person on the set.
Don't fall in love.
Try not to bang anybody while you're there.
Normally it's a burly Russian guy. Every now and again they're going to throw a fucking hot one at you.
Shouldn't be a problem. I'm on this side, they're on that side, no problem, whatever.
It feels like they should just start hiring people that can't do rope stuff. Like, that's an easy fix.
I'd say, like, the fatal flaw of the Gorge hiring process is if you hire special forces people, they can generally figure it out.
Yeah, they can do a lot of shit, as we find out, and they're not afraid.
Hiring survivalists might not be a great idea.
Should we just hire the baddest-ass people with the most rockin' bods and a devil-may-care attitude? It's like, I think you need to change your Indeed parameters. Like, your LinkedIn search is flawed.
Yeah. Like, if you hire me, I'll be like, no problem. Rules. Done.
Yeah, you hire me, you're like, wait, you've got vodka and books and isolation?
Wait a second. I don't have to talk to anyone for a year, and all I have to do is read and make sure no one shows up.
Also, I have a crushing fear of heights, and Sigourney Weaver's like, dear God, we found the Michael Jordan of gorge sitting. You know what I mean?
Sorry, did you say it's only a year? Can I do 2? I'll do 2. That's fine. Okay.
Actually, I'll just live here.
I'll just live here.
Like, what kind of rent are we talking? Take it out of my pay.
Free? Please. I will just do this for my life.
Yeah, dude. It's the biggest problem. I love, like, I always think of it as like It Follows, right? It Follows is like my favorite. Here's a really cool, weird little thing. It sets up the rules. The Ring. There's a lot of movies that have great little basic premises and rules that then grow out into these great stories, right? I do feel like this one has kind of a huge, because one of the big shocks is when his predecessor leaves, right? This very charming British soldier we meet. He goes up and he's like, oh, brother, I'm happy to see you. And he's like, give us your authentication code. He's like, all right, sick. Thanks for your service. And he fucking kills him on the line. And you're like, oh, they're never letting people leave. It feels like if you already have a highly trained tactical team that can go kill the people when they do bad stuff, that maybe just put in, I don't know, like 50 times the amount of auto guns, and then just send your team out once a week to, restock bullets and not have to bring in new people like, there's a weird, like, you have to give the movie, right? Is that, okay, they don't just have a force that does this all the time. This is the one you give. And I think if you give that one, this works exceptionally well.
Yeah. So, like, the towers across the gorge are the east and west, and on the north and south, there's, like, the gun turrets. That's where I'm like, I would just put them around the gorge, maybe. And then you don't even need a person, right?
Yeah, also that fence, it's like, I think we could do better than that. Like, why is there not, like, 50 feet of, like, just K-wide fence to where these things can't, wipe out their way across the fence. It feels like they're making a lot of pretty fixable mistakes. That gorge is long, dude. It should have a fence that essentially turns it into there's a small pussy opening in the middle for drones and nothing else. All of that is just barbed wire and razors, and that's it.
It just feels like a lot of effort went into not a lot of protection.
Yeah. And they've got a cool tower with neon skyscrapers behind them. I think they could have had a better system.
The thing that I like this is something that I like the most about movies like this, though, is we don't spend a lot of time, we spend a lot of time being curious, and we'll get to who the Hollow Men are. What I like is that we don't spend a lot of time doing that thing other bad movies like this do, which is what's down there? I don't know. Can't tell you. I'm like, oh God, dude. So we got to spend half the movie waiting to see whatever this is. Instead, the predecessor, the character JD, is what's down there? He's well, they call them Hollow Men. Mm-hmm. And, obviously we got to hear, Miles Teller talk about how he read T.S. Eliot one time in high school. I'm like, great, thanks.
I took a class at Mesa Community. I'm pretty hip on poetry. I was like, all right, that's the one knock against you. That's the one not Riz moment.
Great. So we have to deal with the poetry. Of course, that's why he got chosen. It had nothing to do with his skill sets.
There's no one with abs that writes good poetry. That's not a thing.
That was the qualification. They're well, he's an incredible soldier. Oh, poetry. Get him out of here. We got to get him out of here.
Yeah, sick dancer, poetry. It's come on. Now you're I'll buy that a fucking company is mutating fucking super soldiers and also not putting in the proper resources to guard said development. The poetry, I'm not with.
That's not going to work.
And then he drops a Buddha quote on the wall. I was like, this guy's the worst fucking Snapple bottle collector ever. And I hate it.
This is a guy, the ripped guy in your philosophy 101 class where you're what are you doing in here? I need the credit. Oh, I fucking hate you.
This is the guy who he didn't make it on the college football team, but he was the local football star. And when he's when I get to college, I still have that drive and determination and discipline. What's going to get me in the most pussies, right? Sick abs. I'm going to take a ballroom dancing class.
Great dancing.
I'm going to do Poetry 101 for a semester, right? It's an easy credit, and it'll be spreading lips everywhere I walk. That's what this guy is, right? And it's not our favorite. My frat, I'm going to have a specific wing in the frat where I put one book on display amongst all of the empty Crown Royal bags.
Yeah. Who's the book? I don't know, some nerd who lives here. No, I like, though, that early on we learned what the Hollow Men are, and so instead of it being an anticipation of what's down there, we're just waiting to see, we're waiting for a reveal. And that's fine, because I don't have to spend any time thinking about or caring what's down there. I can focus on these two. I think that's a really important thing that Zach Dean wrote into the script, which was this is a thing that happens. It's going to happen. There's things down there. Great. Thank you. I don't have to think about it ever again. I just have to focus on these two.
Well, it's kind of one of those premises where you can't have it be okay, there's a gorge in the earth. There's machine guns and he's a sniper. He's going to shoot something. Also, it seems like a guy with one sniper rifle is not a great way to do it instead of the giant fucking platform Pacific Rim guns they have. Neither here nor there. I'll stop nitpicking at the world. It's one of those, because the guy is well, what do you think is happening? He's I'm going to tell you what I think, and you're going to think it's bullshit like I thought my predecessor. And he's yep. And he goes, I think we're guarding the gateway to hell. And I was that's all I need. That's amazing. In fact, this movie has a problem that when we start learning what everything is and it's not said gateway to hell, you're oh, that's what we're doing? Oh. Because, the idea that there's a literal gateway to hell on Earth and that all the, governments of the world are we got to guard this. We've got to keep it a secret. Yeah. Soldiers are expendable. We'll just put some human capital on this and we'll keep it suppressed so we can keep doing whatever the fuck we want. And I guess you could argue at a philosophical level, it is still a gateway to a hell that would consume the world. But again, this is that fine line of, because they're doing that amazing, she plays the Ramones, it's my birthday. Let's fucking do dance moves and shoot at each other, right? And you're all right, that's pretty hot. That would, that's as good of a meet cute as I would ever imagine. I'm into this. And then all of a sudden she's what's that in the shadows? And we see these Hollow Men. And again, the only other like two nitpicks I have with the movie is that the reveal is so much less interesting than the mysterious phase, and that the CG Hollow Men just don't do a lot for me, right? Like, had there been some like cool practical shit, and again, it's hard when you're in like a giant gorge and they got to climb, and I get it, but you're like the Hollow Men were a little meh,
whatever.
Like, it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. But they start fucking wasting these things. They're shooting. Bombs are blowing up, and you're like, oh, fuck yeah, all right. So it's like romance thrown in with like real, like, you know, sieging the walls battle. Love this. Love what they're doing. I will tell you this. I did not expect the whole I'm going to get over there and see her. I thought we were going to keep them separate.
Yeah.
And even at a production level, I was like, this is fucking brilliant. You get these two big actors. You don't even have to have them on set at the same time.
Yeah.
They're just ripping and doing their shit. And I was like, this is great. I literally, in my brain, did not think they were going to pull the trigger and have them cross the gorge. It
happens early.
Let alone go into the gorge. It's weird looking back on it now. You're like, of course they were going to do that. But there's something beautiful in the way they construct this. I was honestly surprised when he starts getting out the rocket with the rope. And I was like, damn, dude, I've been dry for a while too. Like, I get it. You know, like... When you gots to go, you gots to go. I was not expecting that. So the movie, while looking back on it, feels kind of formulaic. I still felt like I was really like at the whims of this movie. I was on a ride with it.
I was not expecting it to happen. I can say that. Like, I was, and then I guess what's weird is like I was watching it, wasn't expecting it to happen. Then when it started happening, and then like when the backside of that happens, I'm like, of course this is what's going to happen. Like, it was surprising.
You knew once he crossed, he wasn't getting back across.
He wasn't getting back. I think that's the crazy thing to me is like stuff like this in a movie. It wasn't surprising, and yet I was still surprised. Like, it shouldn't be a thing where you're like,
that's a great, it's like,
it's a strange thing.
That's brilliant though, right? Like, that's a good thing.
It is.
If you can make the movie that we know you're making, but we're still like pleasantly surprised that it's unfolding, that's a tough trick to do.
I mean, again, I think I like Scott Derrickson a lot. He's a great director. I think that is probably the thing that's most interesting about him as a director is he does seem to do that a lot in his movies. Like, I feel like I've seen that in Sinister, even Doctor Strange a couple of times. Like, I like that he does this play against type in the genre a lot of the time, which is like really hard to do.
Yeah.
In a way, which is really hard to do for people who are just used to watching these movies like us. And I think that's the coolest thing about him as a director is he's willing to take, it's sort of a risk too, because if you don't surprise your audience with a thing that they knew it's hard to describe other than saying like, I knew I was going to be surprised by it, but I was still surprised by it. It's really cool.
Well, what he does is he just gets a well-played great actors that keep our attention. And when new things happen to them, we're looking at it through how does this affect the character? Not getting way ahead of the movie and like, I know how the Black Phone's going to play immediately. And also, not I had read the story, you're just like, kid gets locked in a basement with a mysterious ghost phone and a serial killer. All right, I know how this is going to go, right? Them ghosts are coming out. Okay, cool. I get it. That feels like a ride though, right? And he's very good at, and I think I was talking to Heath, right, who directs our movies, and he was telling me one of his like theories is that he likes to use the camera to reveal information, right? And that sounds very basic, but a lot of, directors have different ways that they do this, right? How do you give us the image? And I think Scott Derrickson's so smart, him and Cargill, right? They work on everything together. They're really smart about writing very captivating characters. And Cargill didn't write this one, but he was a producer. But just really engaging characters that we don't want to run away from and imagine, oh, God, what's coming next? Because we're kind of bored, right? The great actors keep our attention so that we're not trying to race ahead of the movie. And I think that is his ability to kind of pace and dole out the next set piece of the movie. Yeah. I think this is a real achievement of this film for him. I think because this feels bigger than anything he's done since Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Though, is that's the talent of him as a director is the pacing. He paces the shit out of those movies, and that's why when you think you're stepping into a formula, it works so well. Like even if it is formulaic in whatever way it can be, he's so good at pacing it out that you feel like you're getting surprised. And I think this is a sign of a great director. I think Derrickson kills it in this one.
Yeah, for sure. I was really excited on the ride when he goes over and they have their just amazing, like, heart-melting scene. You're like, of course these two people are just going to bang it out and have a great life. I was like, I guess the demons are coming for all of us because why would you leave? I was like, wait, she's just got vodka and the Ramones and wants to do, like, cool dance wrestling on the floor. Like, yeah, I'm done. Like, my contract is over. I'll go live in the woods as a cave person with her. Like, this is great. When he's going back across, you're like, something bad's going to happen. We've already seen the drone. There's surveillance. Okay, cool. I thought at best, maybe at the ending, we were going to do like an end of Disney's Hercules, right? Like my girl is being attacked by my government because, I made contact. She goes in and I have to like sacrifice myself to save her, right? I thought, and this is the other thing, I thought I saw an image that was the Gorge with a giant cabin in the woods style hand coming out. And this is just like one of those weird things that you think you see and it jades how you watch the movie. Unfairly, right? Because the movie never fucking hints at that. So I thought it was going to be him sacrificing himself for her. She goes back and sees her dad and is like, oh, I don't have shame on this one. This was great. When they both go in and I was like, oh, there's like a ton of movie left. What are we doing? And let's get to this now. When they go down and essentially they're fighting all these Green Knight wooden people. Yeah. I was like, okay. Also, they seem to kill these motherfuckers so easy. Are we convinced that this is it feels like the randomly mutating soldiers and just hoping it works out? I don't think that's great. I don't know if they studied evolution a lot. Sure. That shit takes millions of years to get the right forms. Because these guys feel like they go down super easy and, oh no, they're made of wood. If only we had invented, I don't know, flamethrower technology that YouTubers can recreationally play with.
Or, I don't know, water that rots, anything. Like
just bed bugs. Yeah. Termites. He's like, no!
Termite gun.
It feels... I'll put it this way. When they go down and it's like these guardians, okay, you're like, this is pretty cool. This world looks cool. They're in a river. They're fucking parachuting in to save each other. All right, I'm with you. All right, they're fighting tree people. All right, the tree people have horses. And then they're like, holy shit, this is a lost battalion patch. And she's like, oh, I saw Russian and British patches. And you're like, oh, no. I was like, oh, no, they're doing a lost souls of soldiers that did naughty stuff. I was like, oh, no. I was like, oh, because they're the hollow soldiers. No, metaphors, no. I was a little worried. And then we get to the church. We got these cool skull spiders. You're like, all right, I'm digging this world. It's like a half-ass Annihilation.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, like there's some really cool, beautiful sets, right? The reveal is that this was a government training facility that I guess all three of these nations like were in on, right?
Yeah.
They were mutating each other to find the perfect soldiers.
It's like a bioweapons thing.
Yeah, because Oppenheimer created the bomb, now they're creating this bioweapon that's going to make super soldiers, right?
Yeah.
Here's just a basic issue. How is this steam still releasing after all these years? Like, how much of this shit did they make that it's still, like, leaking everywhere? Like, that's not how air works. Like, air would just escape the gorge and it'd be fine. Neither here nor there. I was heartbroken when it was revealed that this was just a random military installment that, like, an earthquake hit, the floor sank a little, gas is coming out, and now they're randomly mutating where essentially any organic matter starts mutating between animal, plant, and human.
Right.
And they never do a lot with it like Annihilation. They just show us weird monsters. This is the Silent Hill section of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, that reveal to me was just lame. And then they had a computer, like a Dell computer that's still working, where he can just, pull up the files. Like, that shit's not password protected. This felt so lame and small compared to the movie I thought I was watching.
Yeah, I mean, again, this was like what I was saying in the beginning, like this third act problem I have, like going into the end of the movie, you're just like, okay, so we've had this really well-constructed, inventive, like first 90 minutes of a movie.
Yeah.
Because I agree, like I was like, wait, there's so much movie left. Like, what
yeah, I
else
mean,
is
they
there?
get in there just a little after an hour, I bet. They're diving in the gorge. There's like almost an hour left.
It's like almost a full hour. So I was like, okay, so we got like 50 minutes of this movie left. I'm like, there's a lot of movie still to go. I think the problem is like for a movie that starts off pretty promising and like really like the premise is being used very well.
Mm-hmm.
It just, as soon as you start hearing about how the world works in the gorge, you're like, oh boy. Where like, it's not like, Annihilation's a great like jumping off point, but at least in Annihilation it was so weird, and because it's Alex Garland too. Like
it's also otherworldly.
So strange.
Yeah,
it's so strange beyond comprehension. You're like, that's very weird and like not something I'm smart enough to kind of comprehend in a lot of ways. But I can get behind it because it's weird enough and it's fun, and I like that kind of shit. This is very Green Knight, Hollow Man. That's a funny way to put it. I think that this is also kind of weirdly run of the mill in a lot of ways. You're like, got it. X joint operation turns into private military security. You're like, cool.
Yeah,
right.
it becomes so standard. And then this is when it's like they're kind of battling. Like the spider section in the church I thought was super cool. Like that was really a fun little scary bit. But then we don't really, like, explore the mutations. Like, there's that room where it's, like, the glowing jellyfish people. You're like, all right, that's cool. You're like, the problem is if you're going down to this world that's been mutating for hundreds of years, at least over 100 years, I need to see, like, 20 mutated things. Like, you got to give me more. And then these, like, cartoon Scorpion King green men keep jumping in, and you're like, ugh. And, like, they're dragging Anya Taylor-Joy through the fucking field, and you're like, okay. And then she gets out and just whoops this thing's ass, and Miles Teller shoots it. And you're like, these aren't even like super soldiers. Like, it's just, it's your phrasing is right. It's so cookie cutter from that point on.
Yeah. Well, like they say it's 20, so 20, like 3 battalions, which is 2,400 men, went down there, and none of them came back. I'm like, that is no small number of human beings who have been mutated into...
Well, we see them kill like 50 the first night they're there.
Yeah. So does that... So, and see, by that rationale then...
Or
like,
at least shoot them. Maybe
numbers,
they go down and remutate. I don't know.
But like, okay, let's assume that they kill them. If you do those numbers, let's say that happens like once every year while the people are sitting on the wall, those numbers are dwindled to like 1. There should be no one down
also,
there.
like, they don't battle each other. Like, there's no political structure down there. Like, there's no, fighting for supremacy. There's not, like, a warlord down there.
See, that's the thing that I think was missing from this whole thing. Is, like, I know that sounds ridiculous and a little preposterous, but I do think there was something that was missing from, like, why was there not a third character who was, like the apex predator who could like explain like, you don't know really what's going on down here. Like really what it is explained. Like that, there's a piece of that was missing. Look, I don't care because again, I didn't write the fucking movie. I'm not here to rewrite it. It's more just, there's something that's missing. And I think that's the part that would have made it less like, okay, I've seen this movie like 50 times. And again, not bad, just like I've already seen it. From stuff that I hadn't necessarily seen, now I'm watching a movie that I've seen 100 times.
Right, and the opening gives you a great reason why to stay with it, right? It has this beautiful flavor to it. And then it's like, we even see that the guy who kidnaps Drossa is the first person who watched Miles Teller's wall, Levi's wall.
Yeah.
All right, you're telling me he hasn't these are soldiers who can still think tactically. He's never been like, all right, we're doing drills today for when the next assholes jump down here. Hey, we're going to attack the wall in a more, structured military way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're not even as smart as velociraptors to, I don't know, test the fence. Like, what are we doing? They're not going in waves. Like, hey, these guys are getting potato drunk and, doing chess games, let's fucking sneak their ass. Like, it's, right. And again, like, there's no society or life down there. That it just feels so, they're walking through, and it's like, hey, go strong. And it's like, we just, oh yeah, throw something at them. There's no rhyme or reason to anything down. And in Annihilation, that works, because it's just this random alien thing that we never get answers to, period, right? Even the doppelganger at the end, like, we don't know what any of this is for. It's just alien magic, right? This is
weird.
This is a military experiment gone wrong, and you tell me these things still have human minds and tactics and are just super in some fucking way that we never fucking see. And it gets so, by the time they're in the Jeep, right? They've gotten the, like, least secure computer ever. And then they're in the Jeep, and he's like, hey, there's the cable. Just attach it to the Jeep. And I was like, Jeeps are heavy. Like, is this even a thing? And you're like, all right, why am I, like, arguing with this movie? And then they're, like, fighting on the Jeep, and you're like, it's one of those things in movies that they do because it's supposed to be thrilling. But, like, no part of me at any moment is thrilled, because I'm like, of course they're going to beat the things. Of course they're going to make it back up. Of course Sigourney Weaver's going to come. Of course they're going to escape together. Like, Miles Teller gets his leg crushed by a Jeep, and, like, a minute later is running up a hill. I was like, what am I supposed to give a fuck about? Like, the movie's such a foregone conclusion from the time the Jeep is winched to that cable.
Yeah.
That sucked. Like, that broke my heart, because you're like, yeah, they're going to get out. They're going to stray dog it and blow this fucking thing up.
Right.
And at the end, when she goes to France and reads his fucking, I'm sure, just sick poem, right? She's like, okay. Oh, I miss when he crammed his iambic pentameter in me. There's no part of us that doesn't think he's going to show up at that restaurant and Michael Caine. There's no fucking way.
Especially after I knew as soon as she started reading that poem, like, oh, God damn it. Like, can't we be done with this part?
And it's like they're like, and they're like kissing, and it's like, 80s like rock style music. And I was just like, I was so hard from the moment they found that computer.
Yeah.
I could have turned the movie off. I didn't get one more thing. And again, the monster at the core of the movie is literally hollow. Like, there just wasn't a lot that world or those creatures were, like, the idea that these other soldiers who were also had no reason to be in the real world have come here and mutated into monstrous things feels like a really, like, interesting field to plow for some narrative and, subtextual information.
Yeah.
And at the end, it's just him like, hey, now I got everything to live for because we banged on your rug.
Hey,
and it's like,
guess what? Did you read that poem I wrote?
I also get that, like, falling too fast.
I wrote some other poetry if you want to read it. Like, it's like a lot. You're just like, got it.
Well, even like Sigourney Weaver's like, yeah, I'm going to go too in case I got to kill the super sniper killing machine. And she just gets out in like a Hillary Clinton outfit with no gun. I was like, sick. Like, do you have shareholders that are like questioning you? Like, what is happening? Like, that, it's just, it devolves into such a lesser movie.
Yeah.
Than where it began. And again, it's still fun enough, and that they're doing a great job selling it. It's just,
there's just such a promise at the front of like, well, this is going to be kind of cool. Like, there's going to be something very different about this, that it just falls. It's not even that it's bad. It's just like flatlines.
It's like it's like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith and just a really boring environment.
Yeah.
And you can't have this mythical gorge that may be the gateway to hell. And then we go down there, like, it's so uneventful. You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem when you set up a mysterious place, a mysterious land, like a Narnia, right? Like, there's a world inside of a world. And it's like, that's it. Like, this feels like they could have easily locked this thing down, harvest these weak-ass soldiers. Like, I don't get it anymore, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully, the two actors are still phenomenal. And, they're doing the thing. It's just boring. It's boring is what is happening. I felt, because that's the thing, I was, like, so high on the start that even as the ride gets pretty boring at the end, I was like, I'm still engaged. I've still enjoyed my time. It's great that it was just a streaming movie, because I just turned it on after SNL 50 with my kid. And we got to have, like, a fun little movie where we're just kind of talking about, what would you do? What would this? Like, it was fun. It was a fun movie, but, man, I will always remember this as a what could have been movie. Because the first hour of that movie fucking rips.
Agreed.
And then it just gets so basic.
It is. It's not bad. It's just a movie.
Yeah, it's like the world's best sauce on like a plain McDonald's cheeseburger. And so that first bite, you're like, whoa, what? Sauce, whoa, loving it. And then all of a sudden you're like,
I've already tasted this.
It's still just a McDonald's burger. I'm like, all right. All right. I mean, it's still good. I still eat it all the time, and my insulin pump's like, no! It's like, like that's how I live my life. But yeah, I think it started so high and just kind of like, just kind of bummed me out.
Much like parachuting into a gorge. You're just like, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. All right, Alex. What was the most messed up moment in the gorge?
I mean, her being anywhere close to enamored with that guy's poetry has got to be like just insane. I'm sorry. There's nothing.
That's a weird saves the cat thing. It's like we already like him. He's a cool military guy who's nice. Like we don't need the poetry.
There's nothing more annoying to me about this movie than a military, like a private contractor sniper who just like loves poetry, and then like he's like, "What's Holloman?" Like, yeah, it's a T.S. Eliot reference. I'm like, shut up,
shut up, shut up.
That is messed up. What about you?
If you're not wearing a jacket with leather elbow patches, shut up.
Shut up.
If you're not literally banging me right now, shut up. Yeah, that's what I thought about that. If I had to pick a most messed up moment in the gorge, honestly, I think it's hard because this is the moment of the movie. Like the gorge, when we enter, is supposed to be the place where messed up things happen. And it's pretty fucking vanilla, right? That's kind of the issue with the movie. If I had to pick a most messed up moment, I would pick the chapel with the spiders, right? I love the imagery. Anytime you get like a decrepit old church that is existing still in a form, but post the moment that God should have intervened to save his chosen people. And you see those people literally like all these corpses that as the world's ending and the gas is going, the earthquake is hit, mutants are going everywhere. There's probably a lot of gunfire, this and that. There are just 3 to 5 people that said, I'm just going to sit in the church and pray that God makes this right. And they end up as food for skull-adorned spiders. That's a gnarly image. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I wanted more of in this movie. Because, again, without acknowledging it, the existence of that church and those web-covered corpses tells us a lot about the start of this horrifying world. The problem is the movie's just too vanilla, and that's probably the weakest messed up moment we've ever discussed on this show, to be honest.
Except for the poetry thing.
The poetry, too. Good Lord. I mean, I guess you have to be super hot, and then maybe you can slide on that.
There has to be one thing wrong with him, right?
I mean, I even own a couple books of poetry, but I hide that shit like a grown-up. Like, I'm not... Come on.
Well, I'm not whipping it out to impress my wife.
Yeah. Hey, Amy!
She knows, like...
I know it's been a long time since Tuesday night. Yeah.
Let me find you my favorite T.S. Eliot passage.
Yeah, my wife would be like, you were tough before. This is unbearable. Go to the gym. My wife would be giving me the middle finger and telling me to go downstairs and play video games or something. She'd be like, I want you away from me. Yeah, go load your own auto sender or whatever the fuck. Yeah, in summation, really fun movie, great cast, well made. The reveal made me happy. I was just watching it on streaming. Like, and even then, even the reveal, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's just vanilla. That's it for The Gorge. I hope you've enjoyed this new movie Monday. I hope you watch The Gorge on Apple TV and enjoy it for yourself. There's more to love than to not love. I will say that in closing.
It's true.
So go watch The Gorge. Go to misfitparade.com to subscribe and see all of our productions so you guys can do your own podcast insulting our terrible third act reveals. Make sure you go to Misfit Parade YouTube so you can see video versions of the pod, clips, and all the cool new shows that we're going to start rolling out over there. Messed Up Movies Podcast has a Patreon, the best way to support the cause. Exclusive episodes. We're working up some cool new ideas to make that more fun over there. Great community. Black Mirror Tales from the Crypt miniseries. Please, 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 we would love you forever. More importantly, send this episode, send a TikTok, send a reel, send a short to a friend. Let them know what we're doing, right? Any little thing you guys can do will help us grow this thing to where we can hire people to do the work that should just be done by guns and robots, to be fair. But that's what we're working towards here. So more than anything, thank you for your time. We'll see you Wednesday for The Bride of Frankenstein. On our month of Amour, Undead Love. Woo! Woo!